Much for joining today's info session about the gas technician program at NSCC. My name's Megan McDonald, and I will be co-hosting this evening and have lots of great information to share with you today. I wanted to get started with a couple of important acknowledgements. First off, we have a land acknowledgement. NSCC is located in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded territory and traditional homeland of the Mi'kmaq Nation. Our relationship is based on a series of peace and friendship treaties between the Mi'kmaq Nation and the Crown dating back to 1725. As treaty beneficiaries, we recognize that we're all treaty people. And next, I have an African Nova Scotian recognition to share. NSCC recognizes the African Nova Scotians as a distinct group who arrived here 400 years ago. From that time on, they've contributed to the infrastructure and economic wealth of the towns and cities they've helped to build. Let us learn more about how our respective communities were shaped by the historical contributions of African Nova Scotians to Mi'kma'ki. So if you are tuning in today live watching the session, then you will be able to ask some questions for us. We have this box here on screen, which is part of the GoToWebinar software. You can type your questions in, and we'll save some time at the end of the session to make sure that all of those get answered. I do want to note, though, that if you have questions after the session, you are very welcome to email them to us. Our email address, recruitment@nscc.ca, is on screen right now. We also will be recording this and making it available after the session. So if you're watching this as a recording later on YouTube, check back to the program page just in case there are any updates. So I'm not doing this alone today. I have Ryan Doherty, who's apprenticeship faculty here at NSCC. He is going to be sharing a lot of great information about the program. Ryan, do you want to say hello?
Sure, thanks, Megan. As Megan mentioned, my name is Ryan Doherty. I've been trades faculty at NSCC since December 2023. I've taught the gas program in 2024, and I am a Red Seal gas fitter A technician.
Wonderful, lots of great information to share. So I'm glad to have you on, Ryan. Before we get into some of the program specifics that Ryan will share with us, we have a few kind of general overview bits about the program that I want to share with you. So first off, here we are, province of Nova Scotia, so many different NSCC campuses. The gas technician is offered at one campus only. This is the Akerley campus in Dartmouth. And gas technician is going to be offered at a full-time pace, in-person delivery. So you'll be coming to campus, spending time in the shop. And the next intake we have planned is for April 2026. And this program runs from April 22nd, 2026 to December 15th, 2026. So it's a little bit of a different intake cycle than many of our other programs. So if you're eager to start a program this spring, this could be a really good one to consider. The length of the program is one academic year, though as I mentioned, it's going to wrap up in December. It's a certificate. And with that full-time in-person delivery, we'll talk a bit more about what your classes look like, but it would mean that you are spending lots of time with your small class on campus in our gas technician shop space. In terms of admission requirements, what we're looking for is a high school diploma or equivalent. So that could mean the GED, could mean an adult high school diploma, and we have some ways to do some additional testing if you don't have a high school diploma, but you'd like to come and meet those requirements. One other thing to note that's important is for international students, this program isn't eligible for a postgraduate work permit. So you're welcome to apply, you're welcome to take the program, but it isn't one that would allow you to apply for a postgraduate work permit after you graduate. And at the time of this recording, the program the program applications are closed for international students just because we're running up pretty close to that April start, but domestic students are very welcome to apply right now. Ryan, do you want to share a bit about what folks can expect to learn when they come to join the gas technician program?
Yeah, absolutely. So this program is really geared towards the fundamentals of becoming a gas technician. So a lot of the core things that you need to know as far as becoming a gas technician, progressing to your gas fitter B, Red Seal, things like that. Codes of practice is a really important portion of that. So this trade, the gas fitting trade in Nova Scotia and in Canada, is governed by CSA code. So CSA code is very important to this trade. So we make sure that we dive deep into the code, make sure that there's full scope of understanding as far as code of practice with all aspects of the trade, including piping, venting, different installation techniques and things of that nature. It is an introductory program, so there's a lot of opportunity to learn about all the tools, safety, sort of all those fundamental things that any trades program is going to want to provide. There's also a fair amount of curriculum devoted to the appliances. So heaters, boilers, any appliance that a gas fitter or gas technician would see in the field. We do spend quite a bit of time on the appliances themselves. And then of course, all of the control and electrical portions that would go along with those appliances.
And so with all of those different topics being covered, here's a snapshot of what the courses look like. So we've broken them down here, semester 1, semester 2, semester 3. Is there anything in particular, Ryan, that you want to highlight just to give folks an idea of kind of what classes look like?
Yeah, sure. So semester 1, again, is very much theoretical, fundamental type work. So, the science behind vapor fuels, the science behind electricity and fluid dynamics, to give a really good base to lead into more practical training. I find semester 2 is quite heavy into the practical training. There's a lot more shop time. There's a lot more hands-on. Not to say that there isn't hands-on with semester 1. There most definitely is, but semester 1 is more of a theoretical introduction, and semester 2 tends to lean more towards the practical hands-on training.
Sounds good. And in addition to all of those classes, either kind of more classroom-based or more shop-based, there's also a work placement that students do. Can you talk a bit about what students kind of look for in those and what the experience is like?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of our pre-apprenticeship programs at NSCC do have a work experience attached to them, where the students will link up with a prospective employer and they will job shadow gas technician for that period of time, which will allow the student to, gain some real life experience on the tools with these contractors that are doing this type of work on a daily basis. It gives them a good opportunity to network with the employers, so that, hopefully with any luck, if you make a good enough impression, a lot of these contractors do end up hiring you as soon as your work term is done. So it's a really good way to get exposure to real life contractors on the job experience.
Yeah, it's really, I think in some cases, almost like a 180-hour job interview for some folks, right? Because you're really getting to know the company, the employer, and like you said, they can often result in a job after the experience is complete. That's great.
Absolutely. And if I can just touch on that, when I taught the gas program in 2024, there were a significant number of students that were hired, were offered a position at the company prior to the work term even being over. Like they had a job before the work term was even over. So it is a really good way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, that's really great to know that all those opportunities exist potentially before even graduation. And so when, Ryan, like in your experience, when you are looking at the trade, where are our graduates working? What kind of employers do we have connections with? Where do you see people ending up?
Absolutely. So this is a question that we get asked quite a bit. What does a technician do? What does a gas technician do? There's a lot of different facets in a lot of different industries that gas technicians can be involved with. Irving comes to mind. They're quite a large employer of gas technicians. So anywhere that you're going to have heating systems, process heating systems, building home heating systems, any of those employers are likely going to have gas technicians on their payroll. So, you know, it goes hand in hand with HVAC as well, just because it is a heating role. So most large commercial HVAC contractors do have certified gas technicians on staff for those roles as well.
And I know that you have lots of experience in the apprenticeship side, both formerly as an apprentice yourself and also teaching in the apprenticeship stream at the college. Can you tell us a little bit about what apprenticeship looks like for this trade? Because there are different levels. If you can give us a bit of an overview, we've got a couple of slides here that hopefully help folks at home get a little bit more information about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the gas trade, it's a progressive trade. So there's a couple of different points that you're going to have to meet. And the first point is to collect enough hours on the job training to become a gas fitter, a red seal gas fitter. Once you have accumulated enough of those hours, then you can start your technical training in apprenticeship. So in Nova Scotia, you have to collect 3,600 hours total in order to be eligible to complete your technical training, but also be eligible to write your red seal, gas fitter B. So there's sort of two parts to the certification for gas fitter. There's Class B and Class A. Class B is sort of the first step. It will allow you to work on appliances and equipment that do not exceed 400,000 BTUs per hour. So that is sort of the minimum that employers are going to be looking for as far as certification. If you have the opportunity and you have folks to train under, you can take that one step further and become a gas fitter Class A or a red seal gas fitter A. So that will allow you to work on all appliances of all sizes, including field certified equipment, which is kind of, you know, that's the certification that a lot of people strive for, because it is a more niche, more specialty type of certification. Most people, I mean, anyone wanting to work in gas in the province of Nova Scotia will eventually have to obtain their red seal gas fitter B. That is a non-option. If you want to work in this province legally, you have to, at a bare minimum, get your gas fitter Class B. You can stop there as long as you don't need to work on equipment over 400,000 BTUs. So that's kind of the caveat. But the process would be that you would register as an apprentice with a company. You would work and train on the job for 3,600 hours, which is roughly about 2 years. Once you've completed those 2 years of on-the-job training, you would be eligible to go back for technical training, which is about 6 weeks. It's online. After you've completed that 6-week technical training, you are then eligible to write that red seal gas fitter B exam. If you're successful and you pass that exam, you become a certified gas technician in Nova Scotia, gas fitter B.
I think this next slide might be helpful with that kind of pathway you were just talking about as well. Ryan, can you explain a little bit, you know, with the Class A and the Class B in terms of the kind of size of equipment and size of appliances that folks can work on? What are some examples of appliances that, say, a Class B certified person could work on versus Class A?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say the majority of equipment that exists in industry currently is gas fitter B, Class B equipment. So most manufacturers are aware of the fact that any piece of equipment above 400,000 BTUs has to be, you know, worked on by a gas fitter A. So most of these manufacturers and engineering firms are sizing equipment so that gas fitter Bs are eligible to work on them. So instead of having one big appliance, you might have 4 smaller appliances so that a gas fitter Class B could work on those appliances. the majority of that equipment, anything residential is going to fall within the gas fitter B scope. So any home heating system, any even small light commercial heating systems are probably going to fall within that gas fitter B scope. It's only until you get into the large commercial and industrial equipment that you really need that gas fitter A.
Yeah, thank you. So would that mean that because gas fitter A is more specialized, would the wage potentially be higher for those workers?
Yeah, for sure. The wage most definitely is higher for gas fitter A certification, just because of how specialized it is. It does you need more training to write your Red Seal gas fitter A. You know, there's additional work, additional training, but also you're tend to be more valuable to a company just because they can send you on those particular jobs with that larger equipment.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll talk a little bit about some of the program costs, just to give you an idea of what you can be expecting to budget for. We've got our tuition amount here on screen for the program. And then on top of the tuition, so that's the cost of being a student in the classroom, there are a number of different fees. So there are health and dental benefits. There's a number of, college associations, student association fees. If you're driving a car to school, for example, then you'll need to get a parking pass. So it brings your kind of true cost, tuition and fees all together to just over $10,000, $10,593 is our estimate here. And then in addition, there will be some other costs to consider. So we have a list here of different types of supplies and technology that you'll need for the program. Now, these aren't costs that are like charged by NSCC to the student. This is something that you would be budgeting for, typically picking up on your own. So when you're seeing here things like, CSA approved safety boots or a computer, if you already have those things, you don't have to go and buy another one. We just put these costs here so that you can have a sense of what you need to plan for and budget for. And if you're curious to see a larger breakdown or a bit more detail about all of these things, you can head to the program fees page, nscc.ca/program fees. We've got that on screen right now, and you can see a little bit more. Ryan, when it comes to things like tools and the coveralls, uniforms, are those things that students are showing up with to class on the first day, or is it something that students kind of accumulate maybe early on in the program? How does that work?
Yeah, good question. We understand that there is a cost associated with a lot of this equipment, clothing and tools. So we definitely give students enough time to sort of purchase some of these items as we need them. We don't expect students to come in with everything they need all at once. We definitely help students by pointing them in the right direction, maybe with some of the more affordable options. We give tool lists. I've helped students pick out certain tools that they may not have totally, had a good idea as to what exactly they were getting. So there's no assumption that we expect everybody to have everything they need right away. It's just something that we work with the students to make sure they get what they need as they go through the program.
Yeah, that sounds good. And these tools and equipment, these are things that they can continue to use as they're stepping into the career as professionals as well.
Oh, for sure. And we really try to help students get the best for their money too. We want to see them have quality tools, especially when they go out into the workforce. But most of the things that they'll buy during the program, they will use for years after they start working in field.
Right, so definitely an investment in all of those next steps.
For sure.
Speaking of the financial portion, we have a lot of supports at NSCC to help students cover those costs of tuition and fees and things like tools and computers. So we at the college give out over $6 million in awards to students every year. And some of these are looking at grades, but the majority of them are not. They're looking at financial need, your career interest. So I really encourage anyone interested in the Gas Tech program also apply for awards and bursaries. It can be really worthwhile. Most awards you can apply for once you've confirmed a program seat. We have a few that you can apply beforehand. Like there's one called the SOBI Award, for example. If you want to look that one up on our website, if you qualify for that, it could be a really great one to take a look at. But otherwise, once you've confirmed your program seat, you can sign into our awards portal and take a look at all of those different options that are there for you. Something that we found out very recently, this is new exciting information, is that there will be funding available for students specifically in this program of up to $6,000. More details will follow, so we'll be updating our website. We can always email those out to you if you've expressed interest in the program, but just know that there is some really great support available for you to help cover the costs of becoming a student. So if you are interested in applying, it's something that you can do online at nscc.ca/apply. The application fee is $40, and the application itself is pretty quick. It's pretty straightforward. You would be able to select your program of choice there. So you'd select gas technician. Once you have put in your application, we've received your transcripts, all of those documents that we need, then we'll review your application. We'll review it quickly as the program begins at the sort of mid-April. And when we offer you a program seat, if you'd like to accept it, you would pay a $200 deposit to hold that seat, and then your classes will begin in April. And you'll receive more information about the procedure for paying tuition and all of those next steps once you have been accepted. So I can see, Ryan, some questions have come in the chat that are coming in from the folks who are watching this right now live. So I'm going to open that up and read some aloud, and hoping you can help me answer some of them. So let's see what people are curious about. All right, so first question is about the work placements. Is that something that NSCC arranges, or is it up to the student to find a work placement? How does that work?
Yeah, good question. So it is the responsibility of the student to find their work placement. That being said, most faculty of most pre-apprenticeship programs will help the students if they are struggling to find a work placement. We do have quite a network built of contractors that we can reach out to. So if a student is in need, we do our best to accommodate them and help them find a work placement, but it is the responsibility of the student.
Yeah, it's great to hear that, you know, with so many like industry connections that are existing, that there can be that bit of collaboration and support. But it's, yeah, that kind of first step into moving into the trade, right, to be contacting those professionals. And is that something that, you know, students would be, I'm imagining, sending an email? Or are they sending in a resume? Do you have any tips that you share with your students when they're going through that process?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say that the biggest impact is, you know, just making sure your intentions are clear, that your student, you know, you're looking for a work placement that could potentially lead to gainful employment after the program. Professional email is always nice. If the employer requests a resume, that's you know, not a bad idea to forward that along. But I think it is understood, you know, with most contractors that this is an opportunity to get to know that student, and you know, sometimes a resume is not always necessary in those cases, just because you do have that time to develop a relationship with the employer.
Next question here is about experience. Do folks need experience when they're coming into the program?
Another good question. They do not. So we, you know, we make sure that we train all of our students on safety, tools, you know, fundamentals, everything. You know, we sort of assume that your knowledge would be very limited on all of these topics. So we make sure that we cover all these in detail, and we make sure we hit all of those theoretical objectives to make sure you're properly trained.
And I've got a follow-up now to the first question about the placements. What if a student is unable to find a placement? You know, it's challenging to break into the industry. Is that anything that you've kind of found, Ryan, in your teaching, or is it, you know, maybe with the support and the connections that NSCC has, are you seeing all of your students finding placements?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, in my experience, when I taught the gas program in 2024, We did have difficulty finding a placement for one student. We didn't end up finding a placement, but it was, we did have to kind of work with some of these contractors and prospective employers to get that student placed. But I'll be honest, usually that is not the case. A lot of times I'll actually have employers reach out to me prior to the work experience, sort of saying, I'll take any student that you will give me, for a work experience, because this trade is in demand, and we're hearing that from employers, and a lot of times it's a very smooth process to find placements for students.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Certainly reassuring. I know that can be certainly a worry for folks, right, when they're entering in. So good to know. And last question we have here, unless someone jumps in with one more, is what kind of qualities would you say make a good gas tech, a gas fitter? Is there anything that you kind of see in terms of folks who are successful that you think would be good to kind of consider right now as folks are thinking about heading into the program?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, interpersonal skills are always a good thing to have in any trade. A lot of folks in the gas trade tend to end up doing service work. So service work, you're dealing with the public quite a bit. So being able to sort of communicate well with the public and have good customer service skills is quite important. As far as being mechanically inclined, it is, probably a benefit if you are mechanically inclined prior to taking the trade. Being able to work with your hands and that sort of thing. Heights are something that we see in the gas trade that a lot of folks may not be aware of. We do work on roofs. We work off of aerial lift platforms and things like that. So, just understanding that heights is something we deal with is definitely an asset for this trade.
Any work in confined spaces, Ryan?
Yeah, for sure. There can absolutely be work in confined space. A lot of contractors and employers will preemptively train their employees in confined space training, just in case the need arises that there is some confined space work that has to be done. But with gas fitting, gas pipe can run in attics and crawl spaces in, confined spaces. So it is something that we do encounter.
Great, we've got, it looks like a couple more questions here that I'll toss your way.
Sure.
One is interested about the possibility of entering into sort of, I guess there's a couple of questions here actually about apprenticeship and coming with other experience. So maybe the first one I'll toss out, this is for someone who is a red seal plumber interested in becoming a gas tech. So if they came to take the program at NSCC, would their pathway through apprenticeship be the same? Or do you know if there are any maybe experience in another trade that counts towards those overall hours needed for the Red Seal certification?
Yeah, so we do run into this from time to time. Apprenticeship, NSAA, Nova Scotia Apprenticeship Agency, they have what's called industry training consultants. So they are the individuals that will sort of follow you through your apprenticeship and help you with your training along the way. In certain cases, those folks can accredit hours from other trades or other skills towards your gas fitter apprenticeship. But that is definitely a case-by-case basis, and that is a conversation that you would have to have with the apprenticeship agency.
And then similarly, someone who was interested in coming to NSCC, taking gas tech, and moving towards that Class B certification, do you ever see people who are kind of pairing up apprenticeship disciplines, like potentially HVAC, say, as well as gas tech?
All the time. That's very common. The more certifications you have, the better. It makes you more employable. Companies really like that. It's and typically your pay reflects that as well. So that's a common thing we see, especially today. Is we call it multi-ticketed trade. So I myself am a Red Seal refrigeration air conditioning mechanic, as well as a Red Seal gas fitter technician. so that's something that I've taken advantage of in my career, and I find that there's huge benefit to that. But the gas trade and plumbing go really well together. The gas trade and HVAC go really well together. You know, it's all sort of those pipe trades that work really well together. So yeah, we definitely see that all the time.
Wonderful, great advice. It looks like those are all the questions that we have right now that have been sent in from the audience. But if anyone, comes up with more questions later, feel free to email us at recruitment@nscc.ca. That all of those emails go to myself and the rest of the recruitment team, and we can always connect you with faculty or the apprenticeship team if your questions are sort of outside of our scope. So we're really happy to help you find all of the answers that you're looking for. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us this evening. There's so much great information that you shared, and really happy that we have this now as a recording that folks can look back and watch later. So really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks so much.
All right, well, we'll sign off. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you need anything, send us an email in recruitment@nscc.ca. Bye-bye.
See ya.